Hey, I'm Emma Fairhurst, and today we are going to be starting a brand new series where we break down leadership advice. More specifically, we're going to be breaking down bad leadership advice in the hopes that we may learn something. So in a recent video, I gave 3 examples of bad leadership advice that I've received through my career. And we today are going to start the series with one of these pieces of leadership advice. So the leadership advice that we are going to be starting the series off with is one of my favorite examples of bad leadership advice. Never chase morale. No matter what you do, morale is low on a Monday and high on a Friday. And when people need motivation, they should take their bank cards out and remind themselves of the money that they get paid twice a month.
What did you say?
When I first heard this advice, I was extremely taken aback because it was in response to something that I had said. I had suggested that morale was low, and this is what I was met with. So someone who wants to affect change is given this response from a senior leader in the organization. It's extremely disheartening because as a new leader, it makes you question whether or not you actually understand what leadership is. So we're going to break down that advice and we are going to learn a little bit as a result of it. So if you go into Google Scholar and you search morale, well, there are hundreds of thousands of results that come from that search. So it's an excellent resource if you want to check up on something like bad leadership advice. So let's start with morale. What is morale? So morale is generally the overall attitude and satisfaction of a team member or an employee. Morale can describe an individual, or morale can describe a larger group of people, such as a team or an entire organization. You can see the effect of low morale over time. It decreases on productivity, and employee retention are some of the examples of an organization that would have low morale. And high morale would be some place that people are happy, people are smiling. So generally morale speaks to the engagement of the employee and the overall satisfaction and attitude of the employee towards the organization. So given the definition of morale that we just discussed, you can see how morale shouldn't actually change based on the day of the week. So that covers the first part of the leadership advice that I had received. So the second part speaks to motivation. So saying that if they need motivation, they should pull out their bank cards and remind themselves of money they receive, well, that also is not academically founded. So what's motivation? So motivation is the reason somebody acts a certain way. So something that drives them to act a certain way. So there are 2 types of motivation. You have intrinsic motivation and you have extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from within. Examples of intrinsic motivation is that you enjoy it. So you do something, you're motivated. The reason that you do something is because you enjoy it. That is intrinsic motivation. Another example of intrinsic motivation would be that you get personal satisfaction out of doing it. Another example is that you get a sense of accomplishment when you do that work. So all of these examples of motivation are things that actually come from within you and a feeling that you have towards doing the action that you're doing. Now, extrinsic motivation is something that has to come from external. It's external pressures that are causing you to do the action that you're doing. Is basically anything that is reward-based or even punishment-based, because punishment is an external force that is being put on somebody, forcing them to act a certain way. So both punishment and reward are considered to be extrinsic motivation. So what does this mean for us? What can we learn from this? So first off, we can academically say that this was not good leadership advice. That is for sure. But what can we learn as leaders from this bad leadership advice? What can we take from it? So as leaders, we should strive to get our team members to be intrinsically motivated towards doing the work that we would like them to do. So is there any way as a leader that we can influence somebody's intrinsic motivation? Well, given that intrinsic motivation is a sense of accomplishment and a sense of satisfaction from doing something, it's absolutely something we can influence. So we can, as leaders, can create environments in which our members feel valued and our members feel challenged. When people feel valued and when people feel that someone is caring about them and someone is challenging them and pushing them, they will be motivated and they will be more satisfied with the work that they're doing, and they will be more satisfied and feel the sense of accomplishment and the intrinsic motivation to do a good job. All right, guys, so let's try to be better leaders. Let's try to learn from any bad leadership advice we get. So this is going to be a series moving forward. I'm really excited about it. So if you could comment below a piece of bad leadership advice that you received, and I will break it down in an episode and we can learn from it together. So I'm really excited about this. So if you're excited too and you want to make sure that you don't miss the next episode of the worst leadership advice, then please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below the worst leadership advice that you've ever received, and we will be on this journey together. I am so excited. So join me. Bye.